in foster care by the age of 2, adopted into a family at the age of 4, over 50 siblings, finally found his mom after so many years, found out his dad died less than a year earlier, American Ninja Warrior twice, hit by a car once, over 30 injuries sustained after being hit by that car, in a medically induced coma for a week, a broken leg in 7 places, learned how to walk again after 9 months, is back doing flips and jumping out of airplanes. This is the story of Dre Nuzum, and he's the guest this week on the Committed Man podcast. I'm your host, Donovan Owens. Enjoy this episode. Hey, what's going on, good people? Welcome to another episode of the Committed Man podcast. I'm your host, Donovan Owens, and I'm excited about this conversation because I'm here with my good friend, Dre Nuzum. Dre, what's happening, buddy?
What's good? I'm excited to be here.
Yes, sir. So I'll just go ahead and tell everybody, like, this is the third time we've jumped on, we faced the technical difficulties, we've persevered through it, and here we are about to do this thing. So I appreciate you being patient with it, man.
Yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, so you look, dude, you live a fascinating life, and I want to get into as much of it as possible. But the first thing I want to know from you is what has you excited about life right now?
What has me excited about life right now is just, skydiving, traveling, and, just helping people as a life coach reach their potential. I always feel empowered when I get done with the skydive. And then I also feel like I'm doing my purpose when I get feedback from my clients that I'm, changing their lives or I inspire them.
Yeah, that's amazing work. And I want to get more into all that, but knowing where you're at now, what has you excited, and knowing a little bit of your story, I think it's important that we take people on a journey right now. So tell me, let's go all the way back to childhood. So, where were you born? What were the first couple of years of your life like? Give me some insight there.
Awesome. So I'll just give you a summarized version, and then you can pick apart what you want to talk about. So from Toledo, Ohio, I was with my biological mom from born to 2. I got separated from her at 2 years old. She was involved in the gang life in Toledo, and Children's Services came and got us separated from her from 2 to 4. 2 to 4, I was in foster care, and then 4 to 17, I was adopted, and then I moved out when I was 17, went to Job Corps, went on to college, and started my own life. But I would say from 4 to 17, I was adopted into a family of 32. And then when I was 24, I found my biological mom. I hadn't seen her since I was 2. Got reunited with her. I found out my dad passed away a month before she found us. So there's a lot of mixed emotions between my family because we look just like him and he just passed away. So we had that, a lot of, tension through there. But I have a great relationship with my biological mom, trying to just catch up on everything she's missed, but also her realizing that I'm not at the point where I need to be mothered, whatever that, she kind of missed out, not in a bad way, but she missed out on those years that she tried to reconnect with. And I'm like, I'm cool. I'm grown. It's cool. It sucks you missed out, but let's move on. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of tension from there between me and my brothers and her, but we're good now.
Oh man. Okay. So much there. So much there. All right. So let's go back. Let's just go through the journey. So, separated from your mom at 2, so from 2 to 4, you're in the foster care system. Do you have any memories of being in that system?
Just flashes. I mean, I know names. I know what the playground looked like, the house. I know what rooms look like. I remember bits and pieces. It's literally just if you were blinking, it'd be like an image blink, another image blink. I don't remember conversations. I don't remember 10 seconds of anything. I just remember flashes, like this room, that person, that name, and stuff like that. That's kind of what I remember.
Does any of it resonate as an unhealthy or bad experience, or is it not enough that you remember for it to be articulated that way?
Honestly, I don't really I can't really put it into a summary. I've thought about this before, recently, but there's nothing that strikes out as oh, I had the best time, or this is a really horrible situation. I just feel like I was being taken care of. I was taken to the kindergarten or daycare, taken to the bus, taken to the playgrounds. I just remember being taken care of.
Yeah. All right. So then at 4, you get adopted into a family and you got a whole bunch of siblings. So what's your earliest memory of that? Like, how did it feel going through that?
Yeah. So in the beginning, it's honestly your kid. Life is full of like excitement and jumping off things and running, having a bunch of people that you can play with. So I remember the young years of being like just fun. And then you can break out into maybe like being 9 to 12, where it was like, okay, now there's some structure, there's some school, and you get rewards, and you do good, you get this, do bad, and you don't get that. And then, there's a 13 to 17, like, okay, what do you want to be in life? Like, who do you look up to? Like, what's your career path? So I kind of break it up into like phases like that. So if you were talking about the beginning, it was very just like, I was the fastest out of all my siblings growing up. So I was always like, let's play football, let's play basketball, let's run, let me race you, let me tackle you. Just a lot of like games in a sense. And then, like 10 to 13, it was just a lot of me just finding out who I am. I was, you asked me my siblings, I was very like just quiet and just like observant and just like I would watch everything unfold. And then my parents would come to me and like, Dre, what happened? Because I would always know, because I wouldn't get into anything, but I would just like sit and observe. And then 13 to 17, I would say I was very focused on, I want to go to the NFL, I want to play football. So I was doing drills, I was hitting the gym, I was like competing and like, hey, race me real quick. It's just like random stuff like that. And I was very focused on, hey, I want to play football. This is what I want to do. Nobody's going to stop
me. Okay. So let's get into that a little bit. You mentioned, you're at 13, you're at that point where you started trying to find yourself. Now, were you figuring this out as like, I'm going to be a young man, or were you just trying to find yourself as a teenager? Or were you seeing, I guess what I want to know, like, were you seeing years ahead, like, who do I want to be? Or was it all about that moment?
It was a little bit of both. Like, I don't think I had the vision of like, oh, what am I going to be like as a man? I don't think that really hit me until I was older, and I was like, oh, you got to man up and do stuff. It was more just like I was really shadowed by like, I want to be a football player. I was super athletic, super fast. And so I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew I wanted to get there. And, I didn't realize the importance of like not playing high school, how much that means, because everybody's ahead of you. And so, like, as I was 13 growing up, it's just like hit the gym, be fast, and you're going to get your shot. So I don't think it was really like I'm going to be a man. It's just like I'm going to be an awesome football player.
Okay. All right. So I
think reality hit me when I was older, but like growing up, it was very like, I'm going to play football and that's it.
Okay. But you didn't play football in high school?
Nope.
Okay, so then you got this idea in your head, like, I'm going to be a great football player. Didn't play football in high school. Then you're like, I'm going to go play D1 football in college, right? Who thinks like that? Like, who's thinking like that, right? But you were able to make it happen. So tell me about the moment the idea came from idea to actually making it happen.
Yeah, so the idea started when I was probably like 10. I raced one of my older brothers and I beat him. I was like, oh, I'm pretty fast. And then just growing up playing, community football and backyard football, just like doing moss catches over my brothers and like just dodging everybody. 1 against 18 of my siblings, I would just get untouched. I would have like college kids from Bowling Green University come in and hang out with us. And same thing. I'm like, these guys are 20, 30, and I'm still like shifting them. I got the nickname Dante Hall, if you remember him from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Returner. And so I got that nickname growing up, just like, oh, hey, Dante Hall. So it was just like seeing my work being put into, action when I was young and just like fueling me like, oh, I'm actually good at this. And then, 17 happened, the reality of like, okay, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go to school? So I think I went to Morehead State, and I walked on the first year because I knew I couldn't get a scholarship, obviously. But I walked on the first year. No. So I asked the coach to walk on, and he said, no, it's very disrespectful for you to just jump in here and play for my team when these kids have been working since they were 8, 9, 10, whatever. So he gave me this huge spew about like, I play tennis or something, pretty much is what he said. Which I mean, looking back, I understand where it's coming from, but I was like, bro, let me just at least try out. You know what I'm saying? So this next year, he gets fired, a new coach comes in. I'm like, all right, same pitch. Hey, no high school experience. I at least want to try out. And then he's like, oh, we have walk-on tryouts this day. So I went, showed out, got the call back, made the team. So this is my first time, like, putting on pads and a helmet and playing football. So, I mean, long story short, it was very humbling. You know, I was still the fastest in drills and, like, one of the fastest in drills and, like, all the, like, conditioning stuff. And, like, I was always athletic still on the team. But, you know, like, whenever it came to game time speed, you know, it was something I had to get adjusted to and, you know, not being able to see your peripherals. So, I mean, I didn't get actually playing time until I was a senior, but I would, like, go 110% during practice. Everybody's like, why is he trying so hard? It's like, this is the only game time I get is, like, practice. And so I would give 110%, try to get noticed. And I even told the coach when I walked on, I was like, hey, I don't care if it takes me all my college career. If I get one play, it's a completion for me. And so senior year comes up, and I remember this game, like, totally fun. So the game comes in, I'm backup special teams behind a dude named Brandon. And I see Brandon, he's a cornerback. I'm a cornerback too. So I see Brandon's covering this guy. He's throwing a touchdown, and it's like a 60-yard touchdown. Brandon's, like, running after him really hard. They scored a touchdown, and I'm like, oh, Brandon's not going to do kickoff. He just ran, like, 60 yards, trying to chase that guy. So in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, this is it. And then the coach is looking at the depth chart, and he's like, Brandon. And then Brandon's looking at me like, Dre, I can't do it. And I was like, oh, what? So coach was like, Brandon, come here. And Brandon's like, I can't, coach. I need a break. And then he looks, Dre. And everybody's like, oh, shit. Everybody knows my story. So they're like, Dre. And so I get hyped up. I get my helmet on. And I have never put my helmet on. Forgot the strap up. But I'm like hyped. I'm like, oh, shit. Everybody's like, let's go. So get in the play, run down there 110 miles an hour, get lit up, my helmet flies off, and I'm right next to the other team's sidelines. So you got them cheering like, oh, he just got lit up. Then you got me cheering like, yes, I'm in the game. My teammates are like, yeah, Dre, you're in. And so it's just like, everybody's just like, whoa, the referees are like, what is going on here? And I don't know, I'll never forget that moment. Because, like, even though, yeah, I did get lit up, but it wasn't the end of the world, and I was just happy to be there. So I played like a total of like 10 plays in my college career. I'll always remember that one. Yes, sir. I got one, a half tackle. I can take it. Put on my resume, but take it. Yeah, it was interesting.
Man, that's an amazing story. And the fact that, like, just seeing you smile through that and remember those moments, like, you know, a lot of college players are like, they're looking at these huge moments, right? Like, you gotta be the best and make these plays. You told the coach, hey, if I get in there, I get to play one snap, it's a victory for me, right? Good. But you got 10. You got 10. And the first one, you get your helmet knocked off. Yeah, yep. That's living. That's living right there, man. So, all right. So you get through the college career, and then what happens next for you in life after college?
Yeah, so in college, I was a dance major, and dance major, audio video production minor. Switch that. Audio video production major, dance minor. I mascotted and I played football. So those were four of like the career paths I could have chose. After playing football, I would realize that, okay, bro, I'm not going to make it to the NFL with 4 snaps on my belt. And also, you know, I liked football, but I wasn't as passionate about like going to be an NFL star. You know, I could have went the arena football route or maybe train harder or whatever, but like it just wasn't a passion for me anymore. I got really involved in dance. I became the dance captain of my university and was in like 10 to 12 different productions over time. So that was like my main focus at the time. So I ended up touring for a dance company for a year. And in between those times, I would audition for like stunt gigs because I was still doing parkour. I was still interested in being like a stunt performer. And after I got tired of touring for a year, I got into Marvel Live, which is like the biggest stunt show in the United States. It tours all over. And I had the idea of maybe this will catapult my career as far as like movies and stuff like that. So If you look on IMDb, I got credits, resume of like 7 different small productions, nothing major, but I've been on Netflix Ultimate Beastmaster. I've been on Ninja Warrior twice. I've been on a couple small music videos. So I was really gaining traction. And then this is where the stunt accident comes into play. But basically, I go to 3 auditions, and the last audition, I realized that I wasn't getting a call back. I was just going to the audition. They were like, "Oh, you're doing great. We'll call you." And I never got called back. So the last one, I recognized the dude from the show, hit him up, was like, "Hey, what's stopping me? Because I feel like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to." And he's like, "Well, what you do is you go to the audition, you ball out, and then you also submit to them an audition video. And in that video, you put everything you can't do at the audition. So if you're good on BMX, snowboarding, obviously you can't do that at audition. If you're good at fighting techniques with maybe like nunchucks or knives, whatever, just put in that video to say, hey, this is what else I can do." And he mentioned jumping over a car. And I was like, well, I can do that, but I want to do the same thing you did. I want to flip over a car. And that's where the inspiration for my stunt accident came from. And then that's another rabbit hole if you want to pick apart anything I say.
Oh, man. Yeah. We knew we were going to get there. So before we get to the stunt accident, which if you're listening to this, make sure you hold on for this story. Before we get there, I want to know, so at this point, how old are you? Before this, right before the stunt accident?
Yeah, so the stunt accident, I am 25.
25.
24, going to be 25.
25. So you're basically 7 years into manhood, right? So how are you viewing yourself as a man at this point in your life?
Well, this is something that I had to think about who I was at the time. Because looking back, I can tell you, dang, I held myself back. But I think I was just very limited in my potential. Like, knowing what I can do now after my accident, like, I held myself back so much. And I would do stuff where people are like, "Oh, you're so athletic," but like, I did not realize how much more I could have done. You know what I'm saying? So thinking back of 24-year-old Dre, it was very like, I'm going to be a stunt performer, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I could have been anything. Like, I had the athletic ability to get into skydiving at that time. I could have, like, gotten more into dance. I could have got more into fitness competition, stuff like that. And I've only done that after my accident, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I just think I was very limited as far as, like, when I had a goal, I just shot for it. The same thing with, like, football. Like, I was like, hey, I'm playing football. And then I lost passion. Then I was like, I'm dancing. And I lost passion. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be a stunt performer. But I honestly think I limited myself on, like, just branching off and doing other things. Like, you can still be a stunt performer, but also be versatile. And I think I put all my eggs in one basket when I could have been a little bit more versatile. And then thinking of my mindset at that time, I was just very, this is the way, and I'm going to go 110%.
Let's get into the story. This is the part everybody wants to know about. So you end up having this crazy accident, but it started with you went to one of these auditions and this guy gave you some feedback and he said, you can do these things. And you're like, well, I don't want to just do it like you've done it. I want to do it better than you've done it, right? So I want to be able to do a flip over a car, not just jump over a car. So when did you did you start by just flipping over a car? Or how does this build up? How do you get to this point?
All right, so we got to go back to college for that. And saw a random YouTube video with some buddies, and we saw somebody jump over a car, and I was like, it'd be pretty cool to flip over a car. And he had a low car, and we were like, yeah, we should do it one day. It was kind of just like throw it out there, pipe dream. And then fast forward to him mentioning jumping over a car again, I just triggered. And then randomly, I saw him post maybe like that week or the week later, hey, I got this new, I don't know if it was a new car, but he posted his car, and it was low. And I was like, oh, this is a sign. So I hit him up and was like, hey, you still got that car, XYZ, auditioning for this gig, and I want to flip over a car. You down? And he's like, yeah. And so we decide to do that on a Sunday, this random day. It's July 26th at this time, and we decided to do it on the 29th. But I want to practice. So the 28th is the Saturday before. Let's warm up. Let's do everything. Let's make sure it makes sense. And then Sunday, full send. So we get there Saturday, and we probably go through it with the illusion. So basically, the car is going here, and I'm standing in front of it, and as it goes over me, I'm flipping over just to see if the timing's right and make sure I get height. So during this whole time in the gym, the tumbling gym where I teach at, I'm still stacking mats up and jumping high. He measured his car. He told me how high it was, so I was clearing it in practice. Get to the day on Saturday, clearing it. I would say 8 out of the 10 times the shots would look great. My timing, the heights. We even had a hat on the ground so that I know when he's at this point, I need to be at the hat. And if I'm not at the hat, don't jump. And so we had it all mapped out. And then something hit me, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'll have the same energy tomorrow as I'm having right now because I'm clearing this thing like easy. And you guys want to just do it now? And everybody was like, yeah, sure, let's go. So the plan was, if anything happens, let me decide. Let me decide. So let's say, for example, he, I don't know, sneezes. I don't want him to pump the brakes. I don't want him to speed up. Let me control. Because if I know something's off, I'm going to jump out of the way. That was the plan. Because if I'm ready to go and he's not, I'm going to flip on his car. I'm going to flip in front of his car. Like, he has no idea if I'm jumping or not. So I said, full send, put it on, like set control, whatever you need to do. Just hold it and let me adjust to it. So that was the plan so that we wouldn't mess up the timing. So based on what happened, obviously, and based on the video, the audio, the sound of his car, my steps, I just think that the timing was off, and the fact of he had a 6 shift, and when he shifted, it makes a sound, and that sound was supposed to be like 10 feet prior, based on what we practiced. And so as he was coming at me, I heard that, and I was like, oh, that's not supposed to happen right there. And so he was already too close to me, and it came to the point where if I jumped out, I had to think about jumping, squat, and then jump out, and by then he still would have got me. I could tense up, he would have got me. I could jump, and he could clip me, and I flipped, and I chose to jump a little bit, so he did clip me, flap in the air 4 or 5 times, land on the concrete, unconscious. Everyone there said he was going faster than what we practiced. The sound of his car, which was just, the timing was off when he shifted gears. He said he kind of just like blacked out as far as like he knew he was supposed to go this amount, and then he just held it. There's nothing about the accident that I blame him for. Like, if I were to redo it, it was never the stunt. It was just me not being responsible of hiring somebody that's a professional. It was just a friend with a low car. Let's do it. And I didn't realize how serious the bad side of it could be. I was like, well, if I don't do it, maybe you'll hit me and I'll walk off, blah, blah, blah. But, 45 miles an hour is not something to play with. So yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, it's nothing that has to do with him. He was just a guy with a low car, a friend with a low car that I asked to do it. He said, yes, so let's do it. If I were to rewind time, I would do it again because it was not the stunt. It was just the timing and making sure that somebody could do it under pressure. I don't know what happened in the car, whether he got freaked out, sneezed, whatever, but obviously it didn't work out. So so I get hit by a car, unconscious, medically induced coma for a week, shattered my leg in 7 pieces, 32 injuries altogether, broken finger, broken rib, broken vertebrae, brain damage, had pneumonia at one point, 7 surgeries, couldn't walk for 9 months. It happened July 28th, and I wasn't myself until November of that same year. Like, I was just loopy on drugs or just out of it. But what held me together was mainly I talked to you about it, my coma dream that I talk about. It was very short. It was like 5-10 seconds, but that was my anchor that I'm going to make it out of this. And then the other anchor was just the fact of everything I've been through in my life, like walking on, playing college football, like being a stunt performer, being on Netflix, being homeschooled and graduating college, being adopted in a huge family, but still making it out. All these negatives I've already overcame. So this was kind of just like the next chapter. I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's get it.
Oh, man. Bro, like, I'm sweating right now just going through this, right? And I tell you, this story is not about me at all, but you saw me throw my hands up a second ago. You said it happened on July 28th. That's my birthday.
Yep. Hey.
That's my birthday, bro. So
That's crazy.
we're not gonna say that means anything. I'm just saying, like, that's my birthday.
That's crazy.
And now there's something else. So all these injuries, but there's something you glanced over that I want you to go into as detailed as possible and like script this thing out. So you mentioned this coma dream.
Yep.
Right. Let's go through the coma dream.
All right. So the coma dream, I was out of it, in a coma for a week, medically induced for about a week and some change. So from the time the accident happened, I remember getting hit to waking up and I hear people, everything's going to be all right, blah, blah, blah. That was like a minute, you know what I'm saying? But obviously I lost like 10 days. The dream within that minute was maybe 15 seconds. And it's crazy how time works in the brain, dreams and all that stuff. But anyways, so I open these doors and I'm in an all white room. There's aisles of just people clapping and cheering for me. I don't know anybody. I just know faces and like, oh, Dre, your leg looks great. Oh my God, you look great. Look at you. You're walking. I'm walking down and people are just cheering, clapping, random people. And I get to the end of the hallway. I open up these other doors, big bright light, and then boom. I hear people praying for me and like, it's going to be all right. So that dream was just kind of like, oh, that was weird. But then when I reflected, maybe like 6 months later, I was like, hold up. There's something about that dream that made me realize that, hey, it's going to be okay. Like, I had no idea I broke my leg in that dream. And I was over here like, why are they talking about my leg? You know what I'm saying? But I use that as a sign that it's going to be all right. Everyone's going to be cheering for you in the future. Everyone's going to be happy for you for walking. And then another thing was I knew, because everybody, nurses, doctors, friends, they would say stuff like, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be a long journey, X, Y, Z. And so I knew what would happen if I gave up or if I played the pity party. Like, I'd probably be in a wheelchair. I wouldn't be able to do things I wanted to do. And, there's statistics about people not coming out of this on the other side. And I was like, well, let's see what happens if I go 110%, like if that's still 110% mindset. I'm like, let's see what happens if I never give up. Just listen to my doctors, do what I'm supposed to do, and then try to flip this. And from that moment on, I was just like smiling, happy, just like, hey, I got this, man. I got this. And I just kept reflecting back to that dream because that dream could have been anything. But to me, it was like the future. Like, this is going to happen if you want it to happen. And so that was my anchor. And I achieved it.
Beautiful, man. So how does that moment affect your mindset today? Like, you still anchor back to that?
Yes, I always anchor back to that in moments of adversity. It could be something like a Spartan 5K, 10K, 50K that I'm just like ready to throw in the towel. And I'm like, bro, like 6 years ago, you can do any of this. You were lying in the hospital waiting to, dang, I can't wait till I can flip again, till I can run again. And it kind of just motivates me in like any area I can, as far as like, this is where you used to be. You have an opportunity. You get to do Spartan races. You get to flip again. You get to skydive and stuff like that. And so I just use it as like, hey, this is like kind of like my second life. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what it looks like to not, to be at the bottom of the barrel, to be at rock bottom, and you have an opportunity right now to make future Dre proud. When I'm 40 years old, to be like, remember that time when you got hit by a car? Also remember that time 10 years later when you got your skydiving license and you started motivating people? Remember that time when you finished the high rocks competition and, coming off a broken leg and stuff like that? So like, it's always an anchor to just fuel me. Maybe it might not be as deep as it was when my accident, but I can still use it as like, hey, you get to do everything right now that you're doing because you never gave up in the past.
Man, really powerful story. And I'm so glad that you made it through all that, didn't die, because a lot of people would die from an incident like that, right? If you have the right kind of head injury or whatever, being able to come back and learn how to walk again, taking those first steps, and now getting into everything you're doing, which I want to talk about because you're like you're in this whole next phase of your life, right?
Exactly.
So skydiving license, you're cliff jumping, you're traveling to different states and inviting other people to skydive. Yep. You're teaching people how to flip. You're coaching. you're into all these things that seem to fill your cups. And
It
so
does.
tell me about, let's talk about the skydiving first.
Yep.
What made you want to get into the skydiving, and where do you feel like that's leading you?
Yeah. So that started with I have notes. And as far as like bucket list things in my notes in my phone, and the week that my doctor gave me a full recovery, I was looking at my notes, and skydiving was on the top of the list. And I remember my mindset when it came to skydiving. It was like, oh, that'd be cool one of these days. And I realized after my accident, there's no such thing as one of these days. You make that day. And I was like, all right, full send. So that week, I booked a skydive, went on my first one. Most people are scared. I was cheesing the whole time. Like, yes, I'm human. I got nerves, but I was like so pumped on adrenaline and like, bro, I just overcame this crazy 14-month recovery process. Like, let's get it. And so I skydive. Everybody's like, hey, man, if you want to get your license, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, let's do it. And so it didn't take me till I moved to Austin to where I actually met somebody randomly that was getting his license. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And so I started getting my license with him, met another friend, and all three of us kind of just like started getting our license together. Became an A licensed skydiver in about a year, less than a year. And then I got my B license, and I was like, okay, well, now what? And I just keep trying to raise the bar. And the next thing was skydiving in all 50 states. Then I realized talking to people about skydiving, so many people used to be like me as far as like, oh yeah, one of these days. Oh, that sounds cool, maybe. And I'm like, no, you can do it tomorrow. Matter of fact, I'm going tomorrow. What's up? And, you know, I've had a handful of people just like spontaneously just like, sure. And then some people are, you know, still very timid, which is fine. But like I've noticed if I just start the conversation, you'll be surprised at how many people will skydive.
So I feel like there's something here. Like, do you feel like this is your thing, like your niche, where you could use skydiving as a way to create transformation in people's lives? Because you're also like the life coach and you skydive. Are you feeling something here?
It's funny you mentioned that because through my program, if you finish it, I give you a free skydive. It's all covered by me through the program. You have to finish it, and you have to. I mean, obviously, I say yes. Some people are like, "Yeah, it's not my thing." Totally fine. But I've already had 3 or 4 clients just book their skydive, and I paid for it, and now you have no excuses. Like it's free. Just jump. You know what I'm saying? And just knowing that they fulfilled or they had a goal through my program, they achieved it, and now you get this reward, and it's such an empowering feeling for me. And hearing feedback from them, it's like, oh my God, why didn't I do this before? So yes, like you said, there is a correlation between skydiving and my coaching and just like meshing it together.
Man, I love that. That's something different for sure. Now, when you give them this reward at the end, do you jump with all of them?
I try to. I mean, some people are in different countries. One's in Maryland, one was in Texas, and I offer like, hey, you can come down to Texas, but if it's not convenient, then obviously just send me the receipt and I'll reimburse you.
Amazing, man. Well, so what's next for you, man? So how many states so far? How many states?
All right. 15 states right now.
15 states, okay.
My birthday is September 20th, and I'm doing a 5-state road trip to skydive in 5 more states. I'm going from Texas all the way to Florida, hitting those bottom East Coast states. And then, I'm kind of just going to chill out, you know, like focus a little bit more on my business, stack up. And then next year, my plan is to do New England from Maine all the way to North Carolina. So that's my big road trip. I might take 2 weeks, might take 3, but I want to start at Maine and just like hit all those little states and end up somewhere in South Carolina. Hopefully that's the summer goal for next year.
Man, this is amazing work. And I like how you've linked it to the life coaching. So what tell me about your life coaching program. How does it work?
Yeah. So it's based on archery. So it's called AIM. Ambition, inspiration, motivation. We figure out what you're aiming towards, and then I help you hit your target. So a lot of times I explain it like boxing. In boxing, you have your opponent, and so you are my client. Your coach in boxing doesn't fight for you. He sees things you don't see. He's going to give you feedback when you're in the corner. He's going to see everything you can't see, but he's not fighting. And so as a coach, my job is, what's your goals? Okay, there's a reason why you're not hitting your goals. There's clutter. Maybe there's limiting beliefs. Maybe there's habits that you haven't formed that are going to lead you to XYZ. And so my job is to see things that you can't see, give you the right tools to achieve them. So a lot of people try to confuse me with like a therapist. And like, I'm like, nah, I'm not a therapist. I am your support, your accountability, and giving you the right tools and system to hit XYZ. So it's a 12-week program. We start from scratch. Okay, where are you at? What are your goals? And what's stopping you from achieving those goals? And before we even start the program, when I have that first call with you, I need to make sure you're ready for change, because like I said, there's a reason why you haven't been hitting your goals. So there's a reason why you're calling me or you're talking to me, is because you want change. And so if you're at the point in your life where you want to know how to change, but you're not ready to do it, then we might not be a good fit, because I don't want to waste your time and I don't want you to waste my time. When we start this 12 weeks, let's go. And, some people are going to have pushback, which is fine. Let's get that out of the way week 1 or week 2. But if you're ready to at least try something different because your way hasn't been working, let's get it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the first 4 weeks, I can usually weed out people if like, this is not for me, or let's go. And like, it's very clear after week 1, like if they're ready for change or not. But yeah, I love people that can stick to the process, try new things, get comfortable being uncomfortable. But I think the biggest thing for me is a motto that I tell my clients: small hinges open big doors. So if you want to lose 20 pounds, let's start with a half a pound today. Let's start with getting a gym membership today. Let's start with stop eating those XYZ. You know what I'm saying? Let's start small, and then let's build on that. Small hinges open big doors.
Yeah, man. I love that. AIM. Okay. Where can people find out more about AIM?
AIM. Where?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a website, aimcoachingprogram.com. You can check out my Instagram, dreadheaddre_. I have my website linked under there. You can also email me at coachnuzum.com, coachnuzum@gmail.com. But yeah, those are typically the 3 biggest ways to connect with me.
Awesome. I'll link all that stuff in the show notes. So what does it mean to you to be a committed man?
It's a good question. Never been asked that, but now that I think about it, to me, it means just showing up. I've always been big on like loyalty, and I've always been told that I'm that friend that I know if Dre texts me, he's probably going to give me a text back, whether it's what I want to hear or not. Whether it's I get a call, I'm going to call him, he's probably going to give me some feedback. And so I've always had loyalty, hold, very dear to my heart, and just like showing up for my friends, for people that need me. So being committed is continuing showing up, continuing to stand on my word and set goals and then achieve them. So if I tell you, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, I really, it fulfills me to a year from now, do that thing and tell you, hey, remember a year ago I did X, Y, Z? Like that, knowing I did that, committed to that, I love it. You know what I'm saying? Just saying what I did, saying what I want to do, and then doing it. Like, it might not mean a lot to you, but to me, it's like, yes, remember that thing I told you about? Yeah, I did it. Like, I love that.
Yeah, man, I love your explanation, and it fits perfectly with something that I that came across and came through me yesterday. And that is, a lot of people think of CYA as cover your ass, right? But I think of it as complete your agreements. And so, and those agreements can be as small as possible or as big as possible. What happens that I found is a lot of men, especially, have a lot of incomplete agreements in their life. They told somebody they were going to do something. They told themselves they were going to do something. They started a project, didn't finish it. They have a car they don't take care of. It's dirty or whatever. Like when you have something, you have a responsibility to take care of it, in my opinion, right? And when you don't, you have incomplete agreements in your life, and all these things require energy, and especially our interactions with other humans. And one of the things I appreciate about you in the short time I've known you is the little things. Like I watch, right? The little things, the details of, you said you were going to send me a text, and you sent me a text, and you're like, oh, you know what? I apologize. I didn't hold myself accountable. Let you know if I'd be there next Thursday, which I didn't ask you for that. Right. But you have a certain standard, I can tell, of yourself, and that comes through. And it's refreshing to find somebody like that, because that's the way I live my life. And sometimes it can feel like you're on an island. Like, does anybody else understand like this? And we talked about it at the Empowered Brotherhood. Does anybody else understand this integrity that is beautiful to have? That's not easy, but it's beautiful to have it. Right. And the first two letters of integrity are IN. It comes from, you got to have integrity with yourself first. And so I say all that to say, I've noticed that from you. So I'm connected to you in that way. I love that you show up that way. And I appreciate that for sure. So I'm going to link everything that you talked about in the show notes. I appreciate your explanation on being a committed man. I'm glad we finally got this interview done. And your story is amazing, man. And you know what? We didn't even get to the amount of siblings that you have.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about that real quick. Like, we don't have to go too deep, but like you talked about going through the foster system. You talked about being adopted and ended up with a bunch of siblings there, and then reconnecting with your mom, and then finding out there's more siblings. So how many total siblings do you have?
Yeah, altogether I have 54. I have one full mom, full blood, same mom, same dad. Okay. I have 4 from my mom, 22 from my dad, and 30 from adoption. Or the math is a little spotty, but altogether I've
something like that.
It's 54. Yeah, it's 54.
Bro, amazing. Yeah. When is the book coming out? That's what I want to know. When is it?
I think when I can slow down a little bit.
When you're not flying through the air?
Exactly. I just have my hands in a lot of things right now, and I don't think I can sit down and walk and write and be present and write what I need to write. Right. Now I'd kind of just be like throwing stuff out there.
I can tell you, man, you have a very powerful story that I think will connect with anybody, but especially men. And when we're talking about, struggles, successes, all the things that a man can go through, the identity, finding yourself, setting your mind to something and achieving it, talking about, starting with walking on, playing football. There's a lot there in your story. So when you do decide to sit down and write that book, I'll be the first one to line up to get it, because it's powerful, man. So I appreciate your time. I look forward to doing this again. I think life evolves always. So look forward to having you back, because you have a lot of exciting stuff going on. So I'm sure we'll chat again. And I'll see you most Thursdays,
Hey, let's go. Yep. Yeah. I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Thank you, man. Peace.
All right. Take it easy.